On May 18th, 2026, Kyle Busch opened his phone and typed out a birthday message to his 11-year-old son, Brexton. "Your mom and I are so proud of who you're turning out to be. You're the best kid on and off the track. You amaze us every day. Keep doing what you're doing, and there is no limit to what you'll accomplish. Love you, buddy." 3 days later, Kyle Busch was dead. That post, written by a father who had no idea he was running out of time, became his final words to the world. And now, a sport in mourning, a team without its driver, and a little boy without his father are all left to carry something that no championship trophy, no record book, and no number on a car can ever fully hold. This is the full story of Kyle Busch's final days. The cause of death his family has now revealed, and the legacy that lives on in a number 8 being saved for the day Brexton is ready. Kyle Thomas Busch was born on May 2nd, 1985 in Las Vegas, Nevada, into a family built around racing. His father, Tom Busch, was a local mechanic who raced on weekends. His older brother, Kurt Busch, was 7 years ahead of him on the racing ladder and once said plainly, "You think I'm a pretty good race car driver? Wait until you see my brother. He's the best driver in the family." Kurt was not wrong. Kyle came up through the ranks at a speed that made people uncomfortable. He made his NASCAR national debut in the Craftsman Truck Series at just 16 years old. After a brief delay caused by NASCAR raising its minimum age requirement to 18 in 2001, Kyle signed with Rick Hendrick's organization in 2003 and debuted full-time in the Cup Series in 2005. He became the series' youngest winner at the time, and after 3 seasons at Hendrick Motorsports, made the move that defined his career, joining Joe Gibbs Racing in 2008, where he drove the iconic yellow number 18 Toyota with M&M's sponsorship for 15 seasons. The numbers Kyle Busch put up across his career are not normal. 63 Cup Series wins, ranking 9th all-time. 102 wins in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, an all-time record. 69 wins in the Craftsman Truck Series, also an all-time record. Across NASCAR's top 3 national divisions, he finished with 234 total victories, the most in the history of the sport. 34 wins ahead of Richard Petty. He won 2 Cup Series championships in 2015 and 2019. The 2015 title is particularly remarkable. He broke both legs in a crash at Daytona early that season, missed 11 races, returned, won 4 times, qualified for the playoffs on a waiver, and won the championship in the final race of the year. He was known as Rowdy. He was polarizing, outspoken, and aggressive. He said exactly what he thought and did not apologize for it. Fans booed him. Rivals respected him. Over time, even the people who once loudly cheered against him came to understand what they were watching. As Ryan Blaney put it, Kyle Busch was a larger-than-life person in racing. He moved to Richard Childress Racing in 2023, taking over the number 8 Chevrolet, and was in his 22nd full-time Cup season when everything stopped. What makes Kyle Busch's death so difficult to process is not just the shock of losing him, it is watching the timeline of his final weeks and seeing the warning signs that, at the time, looked like nothing more than a driver pushing through a tough stretch. May 2nd was his 41st birthday. He celebrated quietly with his family, posting on Instagram alongside his wife Samantha and daughter Lennox. It was the image of a man who had found balance, the fierce competitor and the devoted father existing in the same frame. May 10th brought the Cup Series race at Watkins Glen International. Kyle was visibly struggling. The FS1 broadcast noted he had been battling a sinus cold all week, and the intense G-forces and elevation changes of the road course were making things worse for him physically. Near the end of the race, he radioed his crew and asked for team physician Dr. Bill Heisel to meet him at his bus afterward. He wanted a shot. At the time, most people assumed it was routine. A driver managing discomfort, getting medication, moving on. He still finished 8th. That was Kyle Busch. You race. You do not sit out. May 15th was the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series EcoSave 200 at Dover Motor Speedway. Kyle won his 69th Truck Series victory, extending his own all-time record. Standing in victory lane, he was asked why winning never gets old. His answer, because you never know when the last one is. In a post-race video shared by The Athletic, he also addressed his health directly. "I'm still not great. The cough was pretty substantial last week." He said it casually, the way drivers always talk about discomfort, like it is something to be managed, not feared. May 17th was the All-Star race at Dover. Kyle finished 17th. Nobody watching knew it was the last race he would ever start. May 18th, Brexton's birthday. Kyle posted what became his final public message, the one that now carries the full weight of everything that followed. Then came May 20th. Kyle was at the General Motors Charlotte Technical Center in Concord, North Carolina, testing in a Chevrolet racing simulator. According to the Associated Press, citing people familiar with the situation, he became unresponsive inside the facility. A 911 call was placed at approximately 5:30 p.m. In the audio released by the Cabarrus County Sheriff's Office, an unidentified caller told the dispatcher, "I've got an individual that's shortness of breath, very hot, thinks he's gonna pass out, and he's producing a little bit of blood, coughing up some blood. He is awake. He's on the bathroom floor right now." The caller gave directions to the facility, identified it as being next to Hendrick Motorsports off Speedway Boulevard, and asked that emergency responders turn off their sirens upon arrival. Kyle was transported to a hospital in Charlotte. May 21st, the sport woke up to the news that Kyle had been hospitalized with a severe illness and would not compete at Charlotte Motor Speedway that weekend. Most fans held on to hope. Then at 5:40 p.m., NASCAR made the announcement that nobody was prepared to hear. The joint statement from the Busch family, Richard Childress Racing, and NASCAR read, "On behalf of the Busch family, everyone at Richard Childress Racing, and all of NASCAR, we are devastated to announce the sudden and tragic passing of Kyle Busch." He was 41 years old. On Saturday, May 23rd, the Busch family released a statement through Dakota Hunter, vice president of Kyle Busch Companies, that gave the world the medical explanation it had been waiting for. The medical evaluation provided to the Busch family concluded that severe pneumonia progressed into sepsis, resulting in rapid and overwhelming associated complications. The family asks for continued understanding and privacy during this difficult time. Most people have had pneumonia or know someone who has. It is common enough that it can feel routine, something you treat, something you recover from, something you push through. Sometimes it is not. Dr. Kenton Dover, a physician in pulmonary and critical care medicine at UNC Hospital at Chapel Hill, explained that pneumonia is an infection of the lungs in which the air sacs fill with inflammatory cells and fluid, making it increasingly difficult to breathe. Typically, pneumonia will present with symptoms of either cough, shortness of breath, sometimes sputum and phlegm production, fever, chest pain, he said. For many patients, it can be mild, and there's various different causes of it. What matters, and what the timeline of Kyle's final weeks makes painfully clear, is how fast it can move. Dr. Ryan Maves, chair of the Chest Organization's Infections Network and a professor at Wake Forest, explained a particularly dangerous pattern. After certain pneumonias, classically influenza, but some other viruses can do this as well. People start with a viral pneumonia, and then you get a bacterial superinfection on top of that. The bacterial superinfections are often potentially very dangerous organisms. Staphylococcal pneumonia, some bad streptococcal pneumonias, and these can be very severe and can progress very quickly. When I think about a young man dying of pneumonia after a preceding period of illness, that is the thing that I think about. Dr. Maves noted he had no direct knowledge of Kyle's specific case. When pneumonia takes hold severely, particularly in both lungs, the body struggles to get oxygen where it needs to go. That is when conditions can spiral into respiratory failure and then into sepsis. According to the Mayo Clinic, sepsis is a life-threatening condition in which the body responds improperly to an infection, causing the immune system to malfunction and begin damaging its own tissues and organs. It can escalate further into septic shock, a severe drop in blood pressure leading to organ failure across the lungs, kidneys, liver, and heart. It develops fast, sometimes within hours. The CDC reports that at least 1.7 million adults in the United States develop sepsis every year. A 41-year-old athlete dying from pneumonia and sepsis is not the norm, but as the medical community has noted, underlying factors, a delayed diagnosis, and an infection that outpaces treatment can turn something that looks manageable into something that is not. Kyle Busch was racing 4 days before he died. That is how fast it can move. The sinus cold at Watkins Glen on May 10th, the persistent cough at Dover on May 15th, the request for a doctor, the declining health behind the scenes. What looked like a driver stubbornly pushing through discomfort may have been the early stages of an infection that was already building into something far more serious. Brad Keselowski admitted he knew Kyle was not feeling well in the days before his death, but after seeing him win at Dover, those concerns faded. When he ran the trucks race last week, those thoughts were honestly kind of erased in my mind, Keselowski said. Chase Briscoe called it a wake-up call, a reminder that when something feels wrong, you need to get checked out. The morning after Kyle's death, Richard Childress Racing made a decision that immediately became one of the most talked about tributes in NASCAR history. The team announced it would suspend the use of the number 8 going forward. Beginning with the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the car would be renumbered to the number 33, with Austin Hill taking the seat. The number 8 would not be handed to another driver. It would not be repainted, rebranded, or reassigned. It would wait. The RCR statement read, "Kyle Busch was instrumental in the design of RCR's stylized number 8, and it has become synonymous with Kyle and an important symbol for his fans and the NASCAR industry. No one can carry it forward to the level that he did. The number 8 is reserved and ready for Brexton Busch when he is ready to go NASCAR racing." Kyle had personally been involved in designing that number's look for RCR. It was not just a car number, it was something he helped create and made his own across 3 seasons with the team. The scene at Charlotte Motor Speedway on Saturday, May 23rd, reflected exactly how heavy that decision felt. NASCAR allowed RCR to be the first team to unload their cars and roll them through inspection, a meaningful gesture. The garage fell quiet as the renumbered number 33 descended from the hauler. The car still carried a small black number 8 decal on the door, Kyle's number and signature, permanently placed there as a tribute. The hauler had not yet been redecorated. The toolboxes still showed the number 8. The crew members still wore hats bearing his number. Dalton Good, a graphic installer at RCR, said simply, "Putting the new numbers on this car was the hardest thing I've ever done." One crew member walked outside the garage, removed his hat, bowed his head, and said a quiet prayer. All 39 cars in the Coca-Cola 600 field carried a small black number 8 decal in tribute to Kyle. This is not the first time RCR has made this kind of decision. When Dale Earnhardt was killed in a crash on the final lap of the 2001 Daytona 500, the team moved away from the legendary number 3 and switched to the number 29 for Kevin Harvick. The number 3 did not return until 2014, when Richard Childress's grandson Austin Dillon took over the car. RCR understands that sometimes a number becomes bigger than a car, sometimes it becomes part of a person, and sometimes you do not give it to just anyone. Within hours of Kyle's death, speculation began circulating online. Some users attempted to connect his passing to the insurance lawsuit he and Samantha Busch had filed against Pacific Life Insurance Company. In October 2025, the Bushes sued Pacific Life for $8.5 million, claiming they lost money after being misled into purchasing indexed universal life insurance policies marketed as tax-free retirement plans. The lawsuit was settled confidentially in February 2026. Online, some drew comparisons to conspiracy theories that emerged after Kobe Bryant's death, suggesting that because a major financial dispute existed and Kyle died suddenly, something suspicious must have occurred. There is no credible evidence connecting Kyle Busch's death to that lawsuit. The family's medical statement is clear. The cause was severe pneumonia progressing into sepsis. No official report has linked the lawsuit to his death in any way. Emotional parallels between 2 famous athletes dying suddenly are not evidence of anything. Spreading unverified claims in the immediate aftermath of a family's loss only makes their grief harder to carry. The confirmed medical explanation is already a tragedy on its own. Brexton Busch turned 11 years old on May 18, 2026, the same day his father posted that final birthday message. He is already a serious young racer. He began his career in 2020 at age 5, competing in the beginner box stock division at Millbridge Speedway, a 1/6 mile dirt track in Salisbury, North Carolina. He won his first race just 1 month into his career. In 2024 alone, he recorded 48 wins and 107 top 5 finishes across multiple racing disciplines. He won the Tulsa Shootout Junior Sprint Championship, earning his first career Golden Driller, one of the most prestigious trophies in grassroots American racing. Kyle had hoped to one day race against Brexton in the Truck Series. Once his son became eligible at age 16, in one of his final interviews, Kyle joked that Brexton might one day break even his 234 win record. "Maybe I'm training the young guy that's gonna break it, my son Brexton." After Kyle's death, Brexton said nothing publicly. He did not need to. He changed his Instagram and Facebook profile photos to an image of himself hugging his father tightly after Kyle's Truck Series win at Echo Park Speedway in February 2026. The two of them together in the moment that racing families live for. It was wordless, and it said everything. The number 8 being reserved for Brexton is one of the most meaningful tributes this sport has produced, but it also carries weight that needs to be handled carefully. Brexton is 11 years old. He has just lost his father. He deserves space to grieve, to grow, to race because he loves it, not because a number is waiting for him. If the day comes that he climbs into an RCR number 8 Chevrolet and takes the green flag in a NASCAR Cup Series race, it will be one of the most emotional moments this sport has ever witnessed. But that day belongs entirely to the future. Right now, what matters most is that Brexton, his mother Samantha, his 4-year-old sister Lennox, his uncle Kurt, and the rest of the Busch family are given the time and privacy they have asked for. The tributes came from every corner of the sport. Denny Hamlin, a longtime teammate and one of Kyle's closest rivals, wrote on social media, "Absolutely cannot comprehend this news. We just need to think of his family during this time. We love you, KB." Ricky Stenhouse said, "He gave you everything he had, every single lap, and he made all of us better for it." Rest easy, Rowdy. The sport won't be the same without you. Bubba Wallace, who drove for Kyle Busch Motorsports early in his career and won 5 races for the team, wrote on Instagram, "Kyle was a monumental factor in who Bubba Wallace is today. I sit here and look at all things around me and all the things I've been able to accomplish. Kyle played a role in every aspect. That's what hurts the most." Connor Zilish, at 19 years old, the youngest driver in the Cup Series this season, grew up watching Kyle and said he was unapologetically himself. And you know, some people didn't like him, some people liked him, but everybody respected him. I felt like he was a wizard at this stuff. Jimmy Johnson described Kyle as a fierce competitor behind the wheel who was privately devoted to his family. NASCAR CEO Steve O'Donnell confirmed the races would go on that weekend, saying Kyle would have been upset if they had not. "So we're going to honor his memory," O'Donnell said. Ryan Blaney perhaps captured it most clearly. He was a polarizing figure that no matter if you liked him or disliked him as a racer, he was always talked about. Just this guy that was always there and won too much, which is why people didn't like him. And he always spoke his mind. I think people came to respect that about him, that he was true to who he was, and that never changed. 234 wins, 2 championships, 22 seasons, 1 generation. Kyle Busch made NASCAR more interesting every single week he was in it. He made people care about racing, about winning, about what it looks like when someone refuses to be anything other than exactly who they are. He was fierce on the track and devoted off it. He was the driver you booed on Sunday and couldn't stop talking about on Monday. And in his final days, he was a father typing a birthday message to his son, a driver pushing through illness because sitting out was never in his vocabulary, and a racer who said in victory lane, without knowing how true it was, that you should cherish every win because you never know when the last one is. Dover, May 15th, 2026. His 69th Truck Series win, his last victory lane. He knew racing was precious. He just did not know how soon it would end. The number 8 is waiting, and somewhere an 11-year-old boy is carrying his father's name. And one day, when he is ready, he may carry his number too. Rest in peace, Rowdy.